Welcome to part 3 of this Hexaflex story. This video will be dedicated to the two opposites, experiential avoidance and acceptance. In the previous two parts of this series, we have covered the concepts of fusion versus diffusion and self as content versus self as context. In the first video, we covered the different effects of being fused with one's own thoughts and the benefits of managing to diffuse or disconnect from one's own thoughts. In the second video, we covered the problems that occur when the self becomes the content and the benefits of seeing the self in context. We now move to the next part. In acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, the concepts of experiential avoidance and acceptance are central. They address how individuals relate to their internal experiences, such as emotions, thoughts, memories, and bodily sensations. Here are some key points on these two concepts. Experiential avoidance. The meaning of the term experiential avoidance is that a person attempts to avoid or escape from unwanted internal or external experiences, even when doing so creates harm or prevents one from living a valued life. When we talk of internal experiences, we think of the fear of anxiety as an example. Or maybe the fear of falling over dead in the middle of a crowd. The internal struggle can be harsh and tough, but for outside observers, it may not even be noticed. The actions following an internal struggle, though, will often seem strange to the surroundings. When we talk of external experiences, we think of situations that include people or physical objects like buildings or equipment. If other people have done what you experienced as hurtful things, you should avoid meeting that person. Or if you are afraid of small spaces, you won't use the elevator. The more one tries to avoid negative thoughts or feelings, the more they tend to persist. ACT suggests that struggling against these experiences can amplify them. If you follow this channel, we will come back with info on relational frame theory. This theory states that thoughts are actions, and they consist of words. So, a negative statement in your mind will reflect negative emotions. Thinking about something scary will often lead to other scary thoughts. If you are afraid of anxiety, you will often produce more anxiety based on your fear of anxiety. While avoiding negative feelings or thoughts can provide short-term relief, it often leads to long-term distress. For instance, someone might avoid social situations to escape feelings of anxiety, but this can lead to increased loneliness and social isolation over time. The result of experiential avoidance can be that individuals live their lives in a way that's inconsistent with their values and goals. For example, someone might value close relationships but avoid intimacy to escape potential feelings of vulnerability or rejection. An example can be canceling a public presentation due to anxiety, even if giving that presentation aligns with one's career goals and personal values. Sadly, some of the effects of avoiding hurtful, painful, frightening, or provoking situations can lead to serious problems. Think about a person with substance abuse. In all too many cases, substance abuse is a way to cover up painful experiences. Or, think of the person who comes late or procrastinates to avoid the discomfort of a task. Or the person who avoids social gatherings based on a panic attack experience. So, once more, even though avoidance can provide temporary relief, it often prevents individuals from taking actions that align with their long-term values and goals, leading to regret, missed opportunities, and increased distress. And now, we have to continue with Ted's story. He was so distressed by his thoughts of being a failure that he avoided all situations that could possibly put him in a position where he had to make a choice. He was a competent guy. He really knew his stuff and wanted more than anything to get in a position where he could show off his skills. But as long as he avoided all possible chances for doing that, he was left with his own thoughts and his own misery. Now, let's move to the opposite. In ACT, the opposite of avoidance is acceptance. Acceptance refers to the active and conscious embrace of those private events brought on by one's history without unnecessary attempts to change their frequency or form. The problem that occurs when all these thoughts are suppressed can be described by a metaphor. Imagine being in a swimming pool. You have a lot of balls that you are determined to hold underwater. The problem is that some of the balls keep popping up, and you have to put in extra effort to get them under the surface with the other balls. This takes a lot of effort. Your sole focus is to keep the balls under the water. Imagine the distress when the thoughts, represented by submerged balls, resurface despite your efforts to hide them. Acceptance will function in the following manner. And again, you are in the pool. If you let the balls go, they will float to the surface and slowly distribute over the area of the pool. You can watch them, and you can just let them be there. The funny thing is that as soon as you let go of the balls, you can see that you are in a pool located in the lovely garden of a stately mansion. Things you had not seen while you were occupied with the task of holding the balls underwater. In the same way, thoughts that you let come to your attention can be viewed as just that, thoughts. By doing this, you can see your thoughts without judgment or labeling them as good or bad. Just thoughts. It is all about directing your attention to the things you value. To set goals for what you will accomplish. And you can be able to do just that even though the disturbing, stressful, or painful thoughts are there. As long as they do not get your focus, they will be like the balls floating on the surface of the pool. You know they are there, but they do not bother you. You may think that acceptance means resignation or giving up. It's not that. Acceptance is about allowing experiences to occur without judgment and without the immediate impulse to eliminate or avoid them. When you embrace acceptance, it can lead to increased psychological flexibility, allowing individuals to act according to their values, even in the presence of difficult or painful thoughts and emotions. Here's an example to describe acceptance: feeling anxious before a public presentation but choosing to move forward with the presentation because it aligns with one's values rather than trying to get rid of the anxiety. So, what does Ted do? Luckily, he takes the advice and accepts all the thoughts he has on being a failure. His thoughts are still there, and he can still feel intimidated, but he chooses to direct his energy towards the things he values. Step by step, he can see that his life is getting richer and that more and more of his values are being met. The work situation changes for the better. He gets his chances to go for new assignments, and he does that with all his old thoughts and fears intact, but they are no longer making him avoid or back off. In ACT, the goal is to foster acceptance of internal experiences while decreasing reliance on experiential avoidance. By doing so, individuals can develop greater psychological flexibility, enabling them to act consistently with their values, even in the face of challenging emotions or thoughts. This shift allows for a richer, more fulfilling life. Finally, here is your challenge. Check how you deal with unwanted, discomforting, or frightening situations. If they take away your freedom to act or relate, try regarding your thoughts without emotions and act according to your values instead of the content of your thoughts. And give us feedback on how you are doing. In the next video, we will be talking about how to understand and deal with the past or future, with the opposite being to focus on the present. We would love to hear from you. Until the next video, live according to your values.